Travel nursing can bring you to places you've never been before. Tell us your story.
Happy Christmas week. Happy holidays, everyone. It's Rita at the Travel Nurse Channel, and it's Tuesday, and I'll see you next Tuesday. I'm pretty sure I might be meeting my niece who's going to have a baby soon, so I'll try to meet you next week. That would be, I think, the 28th, something like that. Anyway, happy holidays, everyone, and I'm glad to be with you today. I'm here basically on Tuesdays. I think the banner is saying Tuesday, Thursday, which is what I've been doing for the last many, many months. But I think there's a lot of information in the archive, and I don't want to be too redundant. So you can check us out on Facebook or YouTube. Travel Nurse Channel is there for travelers, for recruiters, for hospitals, for nursing schools, for nurses, for techs, for therapists, for healthcare workers. We are a team, and we consist of staff members and travel members and employers and employees. So, so welcome back today. I was thinking, one of my dear friends has been working right through COVID and has had a lot of other traumas in her life. Her mother-in-law, oh, I'm touching myself. I'm a hand washer, like nonstop. Sorry. Go ahead and use my hand sanitizer, even though nobody's home but me and the dogs today. She, you know, her mother-in-law went downhill very, very fast and passed away a few months ago. Her work in the ICU, she's a respiratory therapist, has been very intense. There have been nonstop COVID patients and ventilators and ER, etc. Get that hair out of my face. They have not been working with enough crew. It's pandemic time, so they've been making do. The nurses now are taking care, probably, the ICU nurses are taking care of 3 critical care patients. She as a therapist is taking care of 5 sometimes, maybe plus treatments, and all ventilated. It's just grueling, physically grueling, mentally and psychologically taxing, and the outcomes are poor. So I think that's not going to change. I think COVID is very, very unusual virus with lots of different things that we haven't seen with others, and battling it is tough. And if you have underlying health conditions, diabetes, hypertension, cardiac disease, autoimmune diseases, poor basic health, that you're going to have a lot of trouble battling this disease. So my concern or my thought today was really about the caregivers, about the ICU nurses and the respiratory therapists and the x-ray technologists and everybody that is part of these teams, the doctors taking care of these critically ill people, and having to deal with some very poor outcomes. After many, many weeks and months of caring for them, they're losing these patients. So what does it take to be an ICU nurse? Who is part of the program of educators and employers and team members that that are all part of the making of a good ICU nurse? So I thought, it's the end of the year, so I don't want to, I'm freezing. Maybe I'll do that. I don't want to start educating too much, but I think I'm going to plan a series for us, and kind of a step-by-step series that we'll look at in the new year. And welcome, as I always do, anyone that wants to come on and share with us, whether you're a traveler, whether you're an employer, a manager, a recruiter, a hospital administrator, an HR person. I welcome your input. Maybe I'll miss a step. You know, I've been a nurse for a long time, so a lot of my information is from back in the day, right? So technically, what is needed to be an ICU nurse, right? You need your RN. You need to be from a certified nursing school, right? You need to have basic life support, advanced life support. You need to be able to deliver patient care, critical patient care. You need to work within a team. You need to critically think. You need to be physically fit, because a lot of your patients are trauma patients, post-surgical patients. You're doing everything for them. You need to be an educator. You need to do family and patient education, and you kind of need to be a rabbi too, because the family, often members of the family, are not at the bedside. They're on the other side of the glass or something. And so you need to have all this cultural and psychological sensitivity. You need to be a skilled telemetry monitor person. You need to work with your monitor techs when you have them, and you just need to know so much. And how do you get there? And the need for you is not minimal, it's maximum. It's going to continue to be a big need. And now with they found with the rotobeds, and with and without rotobeds, you're moving your patients a lot. They're tubed, they're intubated, they have lines, so you need minimally 4 or 5 people to safely turn your patient. They need constant oxygenation. It's a huge, huge feat right now for all these specialized healthcare workers of COVID patients. So I thought, let's start from the very beginning of getting educated, getting your nursing education, and then take it right up to where you're traveling as an ICU nurse, because that need is there. It is a fantastic need, and it's all over the country. LA is not doing well right now. The United States actually isn't doing as well as some other countries. So that's what's on my mind. Oh dear, I think I have to open up my oh, hi Gollum, happy Christmas to you too. I'm sorry, I didn't open up my stream for comments. We're live right now. If anybody wants to check in with us, please do. I'll be here live most every Tuesday, and then there are lots and lots of video streams, on Facebook and YouTube for you to check. Okay, I think I'm warming up a little bit. I think I gotta wash my hands again. So yeah, so what does it take to be an ICU nurse? You know, all those things, all those, the knowledge you need, the understanding of interactions of meds and physical care that's required. You're not just going to see COVID patients, you're going to see trauma patients, you're going to see people with medical instabilities, with autoimmune diseases, and it goes on and on and on. So you need a lot of knowledge, and you need to know what you know and be aware of what you don't know, and work with your team there. No faking it. No faking it allowed, because hearts and minds and bodies and lives are in your hands. So, and then I said, Rabbi, too, you kind of really need to be a highly sensitive caregiver, because it's very, very frightening. I worked many years in the ICU quite a while ago. I did a lot of, I worked in a lot of areas of nursing, so I was blessed to be able to have lots of varied experiences. But when you're not a full-time intensive care nurse or therapist, it's pretty awesome isn't really the right word. It's overwhelming to walk into an ICU if that's not where you work daily and you're accustomed to. It's quite remarkable to see the things that we do, the surgical things, the medical things, the cardiac things, the machinery, etc. Gollum is asking, what are your expectations for travel nurses? I had a top 3. It's probably in my archive somewhere. But the first thing is flexibility. You need to be flexible. And then I will say this one twice. Reliability, reliability. Travel nurses must be reliable. And flexibility, reliability, and what's if we're going to make it through top 3. Reliability, flexibility. I'm going to put this in. I think as much as knowledge is important, I think a pleasant personality, because it is such a stressful environment. I think to approach your patients, your family, your doctors, your team members, to be pleasant, to never forget to be cordial. Okay, as stressed as you are. I mean, I remember my years as an ICU nurse that sometimes you just start barking. Hey, x-rays here, back out, you just start barking orders at people, So your please and thank yous are going to be very, very, very important. So I'd say flexibility, reliability, and pleasantness are top expectations for ICU nurses, particularly during these unprecedented times. It's very, very difficult out there. Paul King is saying, what time is required to become a licensed RN? What time? Meaning, how long does it take? I think once you have your education under your belt and preferably your BSN, most of the programs out there now are BSN programs. There's still some associate programs. I imagine somewhere in the country there's still diploma programs. So if you're going to be a travel nurse, at least be in the direction of getting your BSN, okay? Because that is going to be, excuse me, I'm getting pretty dry right away here, so let's get some water. Excuse me. An RN BSN program is going to be the preferred choice for most employers of RNs. But if you have experience and if you have been working as an RN, particularly an ICU RN, you are needed. And so to become a licensed RN, you need to graduate from an accredited nursing school. You need to have a license or a compact license for wherever you're traveling to. So say if you work in New York and you're traveling to California, you need to apply for that California license. There are a lot of exceptions right now. So, and they are trying to push through licenses and temporary travel licenses more quickly to meet the needs. And but that's and that's why I welcome recruiters. Let us know what you know, and that will help travelers in their decisions on where to go and how to get there. Boy, I'm really chilly this morning, and I'm in Southern California. I don't know what my friends are doing that are already having snowstorms. I guess I need to turn the heat on. So you need an RN, you need a license, and then you need to apply for, and your recruiters can often help you, a license for the state that you're traveling to. And then there are these compact states. We talked about that in one of our previous videos, and that will cover you in several states. So that might be something to think about if you're going to do some traveling. Get a compact license and be able to travel to more than one state with that compact license. So you need a lot of the things I mentioned. You need education, you need cardiac life support, you need advanced cardiac life support, you need experience. There are some amazing jobs out there. I heard about one the other day, actually, for student nurses and nurses that haven't received their RN yet. They're offering some special compensation and some special jobs for that as well. I'll mention that next week. I just remembered about that. So there are some student new grads without the RN license, or student nurses that haven't applied for their RN license yet. There are some special deals out there for you, and some good money to be made, which it's been difficult for new grads and student nurses, even with their license, to get experience and work. And now there's some options out there. So I'll dig that up. I just read about that a few days ago. So what time is required to become a licensed RN? Well, the time it takes to get educated, and then to get some experience under your belt. Many hospitals for the last several years have been offering preceptor programs. Columbia Presbyterian in New York has had a very renowned program for many years. And sometimes your nursing programs are affiliated with hospitals that are mentoring nurses and precepting nurses in various departments. So I think some nurses go directly into a specialty. They go directly into the ICU or the ER or labor and delivery. For me, back in the day, in the 70s, when I became a nurse, the 70s, I graduated in 1977. It's just like we haven't even heard 1900s in a long time. It's 2020. It's almost 2021. But back in the late 1970s, when I graduated in 77, I wanted to be every which kind of nurse, you know, and I actually started out in a dialysis unit, but I was guided by a patient that was on dialysis, a wonderful doctor he was the director of a pediatric hospital in Brooklyn, New York. And he said, Rita, don't go into the ICU right away. He said, go into medical surgical nursing. Get that foundation. Be in be knowledgeable in all the disease processes. You know, see your patients preoperatively, postoperatively, medically, surgically, and get to know them and all that before you take it to that next level of critical care. And he was right, and I did do that. I wound up doing a float job. I wound up getting pregnant, but I wound up, before getting pregnant and having my child, doing a float nursing job, and it was great. I had patients with all kinds of, you know, gallbladder and lupus and diabetes and cardiac and so forth. And it was very, very different in the 70s and early 80s. We did team nursing where I was working. We had large groups of patients. Patients were hospitalized for longer. And I had a really well-rounded experience. And then after I had my child, when he was about 6 or 7 months old, I was able to take that knowledge in my back pocket and apply for an ICU job that I loved. And then it really, really was very helpful. And that ICU that I worked at a medical center that was affiliated with a medical school we floated between medical, surgical, and cardiac. I don't think we had a neuro. I think they fell under medical in that hospital. It wasn't that big a hospital. And so that was my first ICU job. And thank you, Dr. Rodriguez, for directing me to have a good, strong foundation before I did my critical care nursing. So people, I will plan a little series for you. We'll break it down. We'll start with the ICU education. We'll, oh gosh. Oh my gosh, you guys, what's going on here? I'm sorry, I'm a big mess today. But we'll break it down. We'll start with nursing education. We'll We'll talk about precepting. We'll talk about skills. We'll talk about certifications, all of that, and maybe get some recruiters and some nursing schools and their desires, their input on what and how to build our supply of ICU nurses, nurses in general. There's been a nursing shortage, there's been a healthcare shortage for some time, and it's a pretty critical need now because the ICU, all the vents are being used, all the beds are being filled, and the need is at a maximum need right now in the States, and I imagine in other parts of the world as well. So, so I want to support the ICU travel need because they are supporting life out there in their positions, and I'm grateful for them, and I wish them a happy Christmas. I'm really thinking that at some point when there's some ability to fill some of those needs and give some of the people on the front lines right now a little respite, that we better be prepared to give them some psychological support because they have been traumatized. I mean, we as caregivers, we know we're dealing with a lot of devastating illnesses and injuries and deaths and family trauma, and but we're human beings and we suffer too. And I want to address that, and we will talk about that. And maybe I can find some schools or some hospitals or some long-term facilities that are actually addressing that are actually providing maybe counseling or group counseling or some direction for the support of the those that give the support to patients. So thanks for checking in, Paul. Thanks, Gollum. Great to hear and see from you. Hear from you and see you checking in. If you'd like to come online with me, anybody, Paul, Gollum, just call in 800-737-6518. When we're live on Tuesdays, we can actually chat. I can bring in other people onto the live video, and we can all benefit from your knowledge and your questions, your statements, your knowledge, your ideas. Everybody has a different take on what's going on out there. Okay, what's going on in your neck of the woods? Are you at a smaller hospital? Are you at a bigger hospital? Are you do you just recruit ICU travelers? Do you recruit therapists? Do you recruit for long-term facilities? I know there's companies out there that just recruit CNAs and just recruit LVNs, and there's huge needs for all of these caregivers. So I think I'd like to stay here and talk to you for about an hour. My new time is going to be 10:30 on Tuesdays. And what time is it? It's 11. We could stay here a little bit if there are any other questions. But my new series coming up in 2021 is going to really address the travel ICU needs and what it takes and how to build for a travel ICU career, because not only that, right now, because the need is so intense, there's a lot of fiscal monies being poured into that. There's a lot of double time. So you're being paid for your value, and so we can talk a little bit about that in some of our other videos. We have talked about that, what some of the rates are out there, and because there's a need, you know. So Oh boy, I don't know what else to tell you in a brief few minutes here. If there's questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Let's see. If you want to research yourself, nurse.org is a great place to go. You can go to the Department of Health Services in your state and learn about qualifications in your state and certifications. Very, very basic would be your license, your CPR, and your advanced life support. There's CCRN is another certification. It's a very comprehensive, put out by the American Critical Care Nurses organization, and it's called a CCRN. It's also a great credential to have for critical care nurses. What else? Telemetry monitoring and advanced telemetry monitoring. Stay abreast of that, and you can get certified in that as well. Let's see. Is it difficult to become an ICU nurse? I wouldn't say difficult. It's a different focus. It's a very intense assessment. It's a head-to-toe assessment, but it's organ by organ assessment. It's a very individualized with every patient. You're going to see different things. Let's see. Yeah. A strong base. As I said, before I did any critical care work, I made sure I had a strong base in disease processes and a variety of patients. Yeah. So I will say many of my friends and colleagues that are traveling really feel it's been beneficial. It's been beneficial for them to do travel nursing. It's been satisfying, and there are fears out there. Will the team appreciate me? Once you have that knowledge base and have those top three things that I mentioned: reliability, flexibility, and pleasantness. Those three top items will carry you forward. Of course, your knowledge, of course, your experience, but those three things will carry you forward. Even if others are forgetting to be cordial and are doing a little barking, I admit I did it myself back in the day when I was younger and I worked in the ICU. You're working hard and fast, and your patient is number one priority, and you can get a little rushed and a little harsh, but come back, focus back, and remember that pleasantness and cordiality is important for your team members, for your patient's family. Everyone around you is going to do better if you take that breath and remember that. And if you're passionate about it, I mean, then that's a direction to go in. If you want to be a travel ICU nurse, a critical care nurse, nothing can stop you. You know, having that desire and having that passion will certainly be the advantage. But to go into it because someone else wants you to do it is not my recommendation. It has to be something you want, and then that makes more sense, and then it'll work out well. I should have had a little Christmas ornament or something around here. This is one of the few rooms I didn't decorate for Christmas. So my next video will be after Christmas, I imagine. It's already the 20th. Is it the 22nd? Yes. So I wish you all a happy Christmas week. Stay healthy, stay well. Ask for help when you need it. I know you're all working very, very hard, and maybe talk to your managers when, if and when they're planning any additional psychological support, counseling support. it's very traumatic to deal with that much death and that much devastation and this terrible, terrible virus. I've talked to about a half a dozen people that have had COVID, either in person or on the phone, and it's odd. It's odd. Like when you have a terrible cold or you have a terrible flu, that's one thing. Once it's COVID, there's difficulty sleeping. There's very grave uncomfort physically and mentally. And then the isolation. I think everyone is suffering from isolation, but COVID patients that are out of the hospital, that are dealing with it at home and maybe have children, teenagers, young adults, husbands, wives, others that they have to isolate from in the same home. How devastating to feel so awful and not to be able to hug and touch. My bubble, I'm very fortunate, actually. My bubble with my granddaughter, they are out of town with other grandparents, and I'm so happy for the other grandparents, but I am in withdrawal from that little baby. So, but I am fortunate that my bubble includes my daughter, my son-in-law, my granddaughter, and my husband. So I am, and dogs, and my dogs. So, so I'm not terribly isolated on a regular basis. But even this little short couple of days over Christmas time without that, my unit, my bubble of people, it's a little bit more difficult for me. And my friends that have told me that are in the throes of COVID right now, or that have had it and recovered, the recovery time for the most part is 3 to 4 weeks for adults, and that's without the really critical breathing issues that put so many people into the hospital. And they have like kind of a brain fog and a lot of discomfort, a lot of body discomfort. Some of that is from the fever, but I think some of it is this disease process. Oh, I'm going to throw in, by the way, some of my friends, critical care nurses, telemetry nurses, respiratory therapists, and so forth, in this past week have received the vaccine in Southern California, and they are not having any ill reactions to the vaccine. So there's a little tiny bit of good news. They will, in the next 3 weeks, get their second vaccine. So the COVID vaccine is a 2-part, and so I'll keep you posted on that as well. I'm going to go to my jolly little commercial. We are working on another one. And wish you all a beautiful, beautiful Christmas, a holiday season, and good health, absolutely. And take care of yourself and take care of one another. Thank you.
Travel nursing can bring you to places you've never been before. Tell us your story.